Okay, folks, we'll maybe make a start, just in case we need an extra couple of minutes at the end. Fellow delegates, good morning. You're all very welcome here this morning to our second breakout session on restoration and heritage management. We have 4 speakers this morning. You can see them on the screen. One small typist error. John Gillespie should be Joe Gillespie. So sorry about that, Joe. Just want to point out the fire exits over here, fire exit here. So just to keep that in mind. Joe, would you mind just closing the door there, please? Without further ado, and before I introduce each speaker in rotation, I'm going to hand over to Jenny here, who's going to do some housekeeping.
Morning, everyone. Just a quick briefing with some housekeeping updates. First of all, thank you to everyone who attended the tours yesterday. It was a great day, and we hope you're looking forward to the final day of the conference today. Today, especially to all the speakers, we'll be asking you to keep very much to time to ensure that we're ready for the President to arrive later today. The remaining 3 sessions are in the breakout format in the same rooms as Monday. After, just to mention, as previously mentioned on Monday, there's 2 typos in the programme. Session 5, Track 1 should read Water Management Challenges, and Session 3, Track 2 should read Managing Change. The speakers are correct, it's just the title of the sessions is incorrect. After Session 5, Marina 2 and 3, which is these 2 rooms here, are being rearranged for the closing plenary. We'll take a short break at this time, which will be approximately 30 minutes. We would encourage you to use this time to visit the Kailano workboat, which is in front of the hotel, could be accessed at the back, or the Artist Studios, if you have not already done so. The Artist Studios has the exhibition, and it can be access to it when you go out the front door of the hotel and turn left, just about a 2-minute walk. It's signposted there, you'll see it outside the car park. We'll also have some examples of local craft and art in the pre-conference area. The concluding session will begin as soon as we can and definitely before 3:30. Our concluding running order includes a closing address by the President of Ireland, Michael D. Higgins, accompanied by his wife Sabine. Please ensure you're in the room before they arrive at 4:40 p.m. and allow them to precede you from the room on their departure. You will be asked to be upstanding on their arrival and departure. We would be very grateful for your help in giving them a wonderful World Canal Conference welcome. The President has long been a supporter of waterways, waterway culture and heritage, and we are looking forward to his address very much. The President will participate in formal photography after his address. Unfortunately, no selfies can be facilitated. Please note that next year's hosts, Yangzhou and Wuxi, have opened a competition on their stand this morning with 7 prizes, one of which is a special prize of a return flight to Yangzhou from your city for the World Canals Conference 2019. To enter, please place your business card in the bowl on their desk before 3 o'clock today, and winners will be pulled at 4:30. The closing dinner will take place in the Sheraton Hotel, 10 minutes away on foot. We will be leaving the Radisson in groups from 7:15. All delegates not staying in the Radisson should meet us at the hotel in the ballroom on the 1st floor for the reception at 7:30. A quick note about the post-conference tour tomorrow. It leaves at 9. Please meet in the lobby at 8:45 to load onto the coach. Most importantly, enjoy your day. Thank you very much. Thanks, John.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Without further ado, we'll start proceedings. Joe Gillespie is Waterways Ireland's Northern Regional Manager, responsible for 3 waterways, including the Shannon Erne Waterway. He's a member of the senior management team within Waterways Ireland, is a chartered engineer, and commenced his career with the Office of Public Works Arterial Drainage Section. He worked as area liaison engineer with the major cross-border catchment drainage scheme, and then was assigned to monitor the progress on the Shannon Erne Waterway back in 1991, becoming its engineer in 1994. He was appointed to regional manager within Waterways Ireland in 2001. He leads a team of professional and technical administrative staff, and he's also leading a major Interreg funding greenway development for the disused Ulster Canal. So without further ado, Joe, you welcome me up.
Good morning, everyone. So from my presentation as outlined here, I hope you'll learn about the history of the waterway, its rebirth, and how it's been operating, and what has been happening as a result of the major investment in a key link in the island's network of inland waterways. This waterway has been known by a number of names, initially the Junction Canal, and then the Ballinamore and Ballyconnell Canal, and the Shannon Waterway, and the latter coined to heighten the profile in the international tourism market. So see the red box outlined there. One of the 7 waterways in the Waterways Ireland network, the waterway is located in the northwest part of the island of Ireland, about 2 hours from Dublin and Belfast, and spanning 2 jurisdictions, that's by road that is, spanning 2 jurisdictions, Ireland and Northern Ireland. Hence it's called a cross-border waterway, and it spans 2 provinces, Connacht and Ulster, and it lies within 3 counties, Leitrim, Cavan and Fermanagh. So where did this waterway originate from? Well, it's recorded that over 200 years ago there were works for a lock at Lock 1, and the project, however, was not completed. So in the mid-19th century, the Board of Works dispatched one of their bright young engineers, obviously taken some time after that, to survey the territory lying between the Erne and the Shannon, and then to recommend a feasible route. This gentleman, William T. Mulvaney, aged 33, seen here in later life, reported in 1839 on a proposed junction canal with a preferred Ballinamore line, one of 3 that he had considered. And so this is the line that, okay, this is the line proposed in 1839 by Mulvaney, and it is largely the route that we follow today, although whilst including Ballinamore, it misses out Ballyconnell and heads directly east to Belturbet on the River Erne. A Board of Works report of 1845 by its engineer John McMahon was instrumental in having the Junction Canal proposal refined, finalised and approved. The navigation link would be via new man-made canals across a series of, I think it's 10 lakes and canalised rivers, requiring 16 locks and offering sufficient draft to accommodate the craft that would be plying its waters laden with produce and merchandise going to and from the markets in the east. In the 1840s, the potato famines impacted greatly on Irish society. Public works were used to alleviate or to deliver infrastructure while bringing relief for people in destitution. The project started in 1846, and in spite of considerable construction challenges and manpower supply problems, the Board of Works delivered the completed project to the Navigation Trustees in 1860 with an outturn cost of £228,000. Commercial traffic never materialised. Only very few craft are recorded as having made passages, and those that did encountered difficulties and delays. Problems with rising bottoms and water supply were some of the difficulties cited. And soon maintenance ceased and the canal was abandoned effectively, although the trustees continued to meet for a period of 88 years. A silting river in Ballyconnell then, maybe in the 1970s, 100 years after navigation maintenance was abandoned. It's a sorry sight. In the early 1970s, the Irish government had surveys completed and engineering preliminaries undertaken. Then in the 1980s, the Office of Public Works delivered a feasibility study which showed that a reconstructed link was feasible technically, but with a significant cost of £16.5 million. And so fortunately for the island of Ireland, funding opportunities were presented by the International Fund for Ireland and by the European Community. A further feasibility study in 1989 was required before the IFI, Europe, and the 2 governments were content that this project could be funded and delivered in a short time frame. The project was to be a flagship project for the funders as it demonstrated tangible cross-border partnership and was consequently politically symbolic. Many government departments were engaged in ensuring that this project would proceed smoothly. The project received the green light in 1990. The key contributions of the European Community and the International Fund for Ireland are clear here, and it made this project possible. Thanks again to all those nations who made contributions either to the IFI or through the EC, making this project possible. A standalone company then was the Canal Construction Company, was established to receive funds and to disperse payments in the 2 jurisdictions. ESBI, the engineering consultants from Dublin, led on detailed design, procurement of contractors, project management and site supervision. The early 1990s were indeed busy years, with several contractors working intensively on many fronts on the waterway and in many locations. Many landowners had lands adjoining this waterway, and the lands, including a 2-metre strip and a 7-metre strip, a maintenance strip, they were secured through CPO procedures for state control in Ireland, compulsory requirement. And this waterway now is under Waterways Ireland's ownership and control. So here's a schematic long section. We have on the right-hand side, over here we have the Shannon and Loch Erne. We have 8 locks ascending from the Shannon to Loch Skur, which is the summit level, and these masonry locks are still in use today. The summit level is at 220 feet, or 67 metres above ordnance datum, and then the 8 locks descending to the Erne were replaced by modern structures with masonry cladding taken from the original locks at those particular sites. And a string of public moorings were provided at roughly 1-hour intervals in boating terms along the waterway, complete with all services, launch points, and parking. So some channel construction works obviously were in the dry at times, and sometimes water-based working was required. Ground conditions varied from the limestone rock to weak soils around the lakes. So civil, structural, environmental, mechanical, and electrical engineering skills were required to deliver on this series of projects within the overall project. Effective project management was provided by consultants ESBI. So this gives you a feel for the quantities that were dealt with during a 3-year construction project from 91 to 94. The timber piles were required in an attempt to stabilize the banks, which were prone to collapse in places. So where a lock was replaced, its masonry was taken down and reused in that same location. Masonry structures were repaired where feasible, and the skill of the masons is visible today. We have retained about 50%, well, exactly 50% of the locks from the 1850s. On the bottom right there, you have the Skew Bridge at Kilclar on the bottom right. Here you have a typical channel section with an 8-metre base and 30 metres at the water, showing where possible that only one bank would be worked, the other would be untouched, and this would expedite the bank recovery. And here we have a scene of bank regeneration on the work bank, which was on the left-hand side within a short time frame, as seen here at Ahu. Timber grows rapidly in this region, and it is presenting a maintenance challenge on an ongoing basis. All funders were keen for a successful waterway outcome, hence the cross-border marketing task force that was established. The waterway would require marketing and development, and so dedicated resources of 2 managers plus support were allocated, and a promotions company established. Extra work arose from the Foley's Cut improvement on the River Erne side, linking the Shannon Erne waterway to Belturbet by the shortest route, and also from having to excavate rock at the western end where it joined the Shannon. Opening took place in the spring of 1994. There was a soft launch at Easter, and then the United Kingdom and Irish governments sent ministers to jointly officiate at ceremonies held both in Northern Ireland and in the south. And Waterways Ireland has been in charge of the waterway for the last 18 years. Presented here are some of the key facts. The waterway may be used year-round, assuming no floods, as it is quite sheltered. The main boating season is from Easter to the end of October, but the locks and the trails remain open throughout the year. And typically, we're counting now of the order of 1,500 to 2,000 passages annually at Lock 1 and Lock 16, which are the entry points, exit points of the waterway, which is equivalent to about 24,000 lock operations right through all the locks. In the early years of operation, the waterway management and operations were monitored by a committee, where it would be without committees. The JCC representing the United Kingdom and Irish governments' interests, and there were other statutory agencies pulled in as well to support the success of their work. Some images here showing the impact of changes at locks and weirs. The weir top left before works, obviously, and the aerial shot of the same scene afterwards. Steel core gates are used throughout the waterway and are operated by hydraulic rams. We call it semi-automatic lock operation. So here we are passing upstream at Lock 8 to the summit level. We have a smart card access system, which is inset there at bottom left, and push-button operation by the boater, requiring an electro-hydraulic operating system behind this, and a small team of Waterway patrollers then to monitor lock operations and keep everything right. Typical services provision at the 6 key mooring sites provided throughout the Waterway and now managed by ourselves. We have some listed here are some of the wide range of activities that can be engaged in along the Waterway corridor. Some have a seasonality to them, and some are all year round. We have cycling route. There were cycling routes established in the Waterway some years ago. For example, the Kingfisher Cycle Trail, which include Loch Erne. Walking trails are now increasing in number, driven by funding for outdoor recreation and rural regeneration. And a boat rally always brings plenty of colour and crack to the Waterway, as seen there on the bottom left. At Loch 3, before and after, decaying weir and fish pass, the Woodford River fishery, which this is part of the Shannon Erne Waterway. The fishery benefits from a new fish pass there, the stepped structure, and the weir itself, of course. Increasingly, Waterways Ireland has been working with partners to develop the recreational potential of our lands along the Waterway. And for instance, this year we've accessed almost €1 million in Irish government funds to develop 2 trails for walking and cycling in both in Leitrim and in County Cavan. At the top we have Loch 5 in the early 1990s, as the vegetation was being cut back to reveal the 140-year-old loch structure in very poor condition. So the loch was replaced and its masonry used to clad the new structure. So this is Kilclar, which was a stop yesterday on the northern tour. Here the waterway is cut through some bedrock limestone, and during restoration of the channel, it was lined with concrete to prevent water leakage through the fractured bedrock. And those locks are dating from the 1850s and still active today. And the scenes in black and white are from the 1970s with looks like an engineer trying to look busy. An impressive list of private sector investments made along the waterway since restoration in the leisure, boating and property development sectors. We've got apartments, marinas, holiday homes, barge hire company, hotel, trail expansion and moorings expansions. And we have new cruiser hire bases being established, and businesses were established as a part of the restoration project. Those businesses that hired boats that were established on the Shannon took opportunities to open new bases on the other side of the summit, on the Erne, and also at Belturbet itself. The Shannon Erne Waterway had a successful canoe trail developed by Canal, and it was in place for a number of years. And then in 2016, a Blueway product was launched to bring more active participation in walking, cycling and paddling, and to encourage product providers to create attractive packaged experiences. A popular whitewater channel at Ballyconnell, at Loch 2, developed on the Loch Bypass channel, now attracts competitive events. Restoration has brought better water quality and maintenance, and the fishery on the waterway brings anglers for leisure and competitions. Running quickly then, with some aerial shots running from east to west throughout the waterway. The current end of navigation is just off to the left of this at Erne Bridge on the River Erne. It's a short distance upstream. And the new marina in Belturbet, County Cavan, is seen there on the far bank, along with our own public jetties on the near side, and all those followed on from the restoration project. Marinas that were on the River Erne have expanded their capacity after restoration, and developers of new holiday homes have been attracted to develop on this scenic waterway. This link channel was deepened and widened during the project. It's providing a short link through to Belturbet, and new holiday homes have been sited close by there on the top left. A new rural marina under construction by a landowner, diversifying into the marina business, a sign of confidence in the boating market. We have on our craft registers over 6,000 craft registered on the Erne and over 8,000 on the Shannon, and the trend is upwards. So here we have a development of attractive holiday dwellings, some of which are log cabins, complete with waterway access through the marina. So at Kilcorby in County Cavan, again developed post-restoration. This is the only loch in Northern Ireland on the Shannon Erne Waterway, seen. It's the only one in Northern Ireland, seen during survey with the late Jim Keane there. Jim was a former colleague of some of us here. He lived and worked in Athlone for many years, and he was involved in the surveys in the 70s and the 80s. So he's looking into the old lock chamber as it was, and bottom right you have the construction phase. So at that particular lock then we had holiday homes developed and we had a marina developed as well, and from that there's a barge hire business operating as well. And the UK-EU border, or the UK-Ireland border, runs along that bypass channel on the near side. Waterfront apartment developments are numerous in Ballyconnell since Waterway restoration. The property developers have addressed the Waterway by and large, and some have included marinas with their developments. And the public marina in Ballyconnell, managed by Waterways Erne, has been expanded. Further upstream then we have Lock 3, or very near Lock 3, we have this attractive holiday home development nestled in pine trees on the banks of the Waterway. And not all that visible when you're sailing by. Moving to the west then, out of the Woodford River we enter this lake, which is one of the larger lakes, Garadice, very popular with anglers. And our facility is down here, our public marina with services and launch point is there. And then at Lock 4, further west, near Ballinamore, we see a family-run business at Riversdale, offering barge holidays and barge building, complete with marina services, all as a result of the restoration. And in Ballinamore, the major town on the Waterway, we have a community-developed marina, complete with maintenance building for boats, and we also have waterfront property development. Funding for the marina was sourced from the International Fund for Ireland. And this town is an excellent base for walking and cycling on new trails, and also for angling holidays. And lastly then, the most western settlement on the Waterway is Leitrim Village, which has now seen the development of new marinas, a hotel, a small hotel, holiday homes, and other new property developments addressing the Waterway. The junction with the Shannon is at the top of the picture there, where the river meanders. And so some of the other outcomes which occurred to me and maybe are perhaps less apparent as a result of the development of this waterway. We have had the considerable technical achievement of knitting together new technology, as it was 25 years ago, I suppose, with the traditional skills of the engineers and the men who built who built the waterway all those years ago. The waterway and the various joint workings have been a model for cooperation, which is ongoing to this day and exists in the form of Waterways Ireland post-2000. It has also led to the development of cross-border cooperation in tourism. I think the tourism people north and south at county level would certainly say that's working better. And also at community level, there's a reduced sense of isolation as we have international visitors passing through the community, and there's a sense of pride restored to those communities. And it's also a destination for those who want to enjoy the Blue Way and all its offerings and just take time to pass through the beautiful landscape slowly. In terms of economic evaluation then, this evaluation was by Collins Stutt Consulting some years after the waterway was opened, with the claim that the waterway had been a resounding success, which I wouldn't argue with. Expenditure by boating visitors was having a major impact on the area, it concluded. The Shannon Erne Waterway Promotions Company had estimated that their waterway was stimulating £30 million of private investment in the region, and visitor spend was estimated to be £7.7 million per annum in the region, expenditure that was totally due to the investment in the waterway, sustaining those jobs, full-time equivalent jobs, and it was a lasting symbol of effective cross-border cooperation. And so to conclude then, next year, 2019, marks the 25th birthday of the new Shannon Erne Waterway, so I would invite you all to think about your holiday plans and perhaps even take a short break on the Shannon Erne Waterway. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joe. A very informative paper, and for somebody that then just followed in the footsteps of W.T. Mulvaney, you haven't done a bad job. Our second speaker today is Rudy van der Veen. Rudy promotes water tourism for the city of Ghent, and in this function he also represents other Flemish cities in several governmental bodies on behalf of Tourism Flanders and in regional tourism organisations on behalf of the city. Rudy is a council member of IWI, a member of Piank, Belgium, and a member of the Network of Inland Waterways Europe. He's also secretary for the Association of Flemish Nautical SMEs, and is a board member of the Flemish Passenger Ship Association. And Rudy was also organising the whole World Canals Conference in Ghent in 2015. Rudy's paper today is the reopening of the Lower Scheldt in the city of Ghent. So you're welcome, Rudy.
Good morning, everybody. People who know me better know that I'm always thirsty, so first I'm going to take a glass of water. So indeed, my presentation today is about the reopening of the Lower Scheldt, or in Dutch, Nederschelde, in the city center of Ghent. Here's the pointer. Yes. The reopening of the Nederschelde, or Lower Scheldt, is about making the historic waterways visible again in the city center. The Nederschelde was overgrown years ago and was mainly used as above-ground parking. Soon it will be a quiet waterway again for recreational boating with banks for walkers and cyclists. The project has been going on for decades now. This part of the city got an inland marina, 3 new bridges, a lock, a renewed old marketplace, a park and bicycle underpass. The last phase of the project started in November 2016 to connect the remaining 200 meters of water between the Reep and the Bisdomkai, 2 places in Ghent. So, since we speak Dutch in Ghent, I will once in a while name a Dutch name. So the Reep and the Bisdomkai to the water at the Scheldislock, next to the old marketplace. The project will be ready at the end of this month. And at that moment, sloops and smaller boats will be able to sail again around the historic city center. Let's go into detail now. From 1850, many canals in Ghent were filled up and overgrown because they were impure, caused odor nuisance, and among other things, caused cholera. After the Second World War, the aspect of mobility came. There should be room for new traffic arteries, and in the 60s, for example, also the Lower Scheldt disappeared. The southern part was being overrun here at the François Laurent Square. The northern part was filled up. The rivers Scheldt and Lys remained connected thanks to the Ketelvest, it's a canal, and especially the Ringvaart, that's a circular waterway around the city. At the end of the century, people wanted to restore the waterway, since odor nuisance and mobility played a smaller role. 2002, a study began on the reopening of the northern part. Here you see an aerial view of what we will discuss during this presentation. This is the same image, but on a card, indicated on a card. On the hydrographic plan from 1852, you can see the network of waterways that Ghent went through, and it were a lot. Numerous ditches, small canals, and meanders of the larger rivers were shortly afterwards filled up. This is an actual map, and you can see what is left over today in the city center. Still a lot, but not in comparison how it used to be. In November 2003, the then chairman of the European Parliament, the Irishman Pat Cox, gave the go-ahead in the city of Limburg for the project Water in Historic City Centres, one of the projects within the scope of Interact 3B new WE program as part of the European Spatial Development Fund. The slogan of the introductory presentation was as follows: let us use this opportunity offered to us by Europe to enrich each other and to use the powerful force of water for city center redevelopment. It's thanks to this project, the successor of the previous project, sustainable canal restoration that was then led by British Waterways, that at the end of this month we will finish the works in Ghent to welcome the Lower Scheldt again in our inner city. Water, often the source of origin of many European cities, still proves to be an enormous source of inspiration. In the last century, water was neglected due to the increasing use of cars, the construction of sewers, and the reduced economic significance, and in many cases even disappeared from the cityscape. Now that the city centers have been reevaluated as centers of economic life, as important carriers of a city's cultural identity, but also as habitats, the significance of water is on the rise again. Not just in cases in which the spatial quality of the city center economy is in stake, but also in relation to water management. A proper water flow is of importance to a city in addition to retention measures in the countryside with a view to managing potential floods. In this sense, water in a city center can make a significant contribution to the sustainable redevelopment of city centers and to sustainable water management in towns and regions. Remember this photo for later. On this map, you see the confluence of the rivers Scheldt and Lys in the city center of Ghent. On this specific spot, the Marina Portus Ganda was constructed. Both rivers originate in France and flow together in Ghent. The section was filled up in the 60s, and we will go into that in more detail. The lighter blue lines are the canals Ghent, Bruges, Ostend, and also the water sport track. On this map you see the places where new trees and plants are provided along the project area. And for lovers of historical maps, you can see the project area here again. This painting dates from 1534. The same card, but even more detailed, with the Bisdom Old Animal Market, it says, the Veermanplein, and the Abbey Sint-Bavo. This is the same picture of what you saw, the Episcopal Palace in Ghent. Exactly the same place, but 500 years earlier. And again in 1950. And in 1960, you see there is no more water. The waterway is filled up. And again, same place, but last year. You see also already the construction of a bridge. Here are some atmospheric images from a bygone era, how the Lower Scheldt on the same place looked like 100 years ago. And some more pictures of that area. But that's history. These beautiful images came to an end in the 60s, 1960. Here one begins with filling up the waterway to provide sufficient parking space for King Car. You see that the local population is interested, just looking at it. And another picture of the works. So that was the end of the Nederschelde, the Lower Scheldt. And brings us back to the actual project, the construction of City Marina plus the reopening of the Lower Scheldt. In the red circle and circles, you will always see the zones that I will explain. Here's the new marina site called Portus Ganda. Ganda is an old Celtic word that means confluence of two rivers, and the name Ghent is named after that. The marina is built exactly on the spot where the rivers Lys and Scheldt come together. This is also the oldest historically described part of the city, especially starting from the years 600 and earlier, where the oldest settlement of civilization in the city was located. A picture of the 1950s with the Lower Scheldt in the middle, going to the cathedral. and as you've seen in the former pictures, filled up in the early 60s. That is 1960. On the red arrow you see there's no more water going into that side to the cathedral, but you see just a brick wall. The same spot right before the start of the reopening. And this is an aerial photograph with the displaced waterway. This is the original plan how the marina should look like. It's a picture from above. It's a plan of our Flemish waterways manager together with the spatial planners of the city of Ghent. And a first visual realization of the project. People who went to the WCC in Ghent saw that on a walk in the city center. A small symbolic opening of about 100 meters, plus the construction of a new cyclist and pedestrian bridge. This is an image of the other side of the waterway, of the quay. Note that the square on the right has already been completed redesign. Before that, an artist studio was built on it. And a similar picture with the pedestrian bridge. A compilation of photos of the ongoing works some years ago. That was in 2005. Those works happened. The touristic promotion that one could come to the new marina still had to start. In the meantime, international water tourists have found, fortunately, already their way to the marina. On the square, there's also the oldest covered swimming pool of Belgium, the Van Eyck swimming pool. The interior is completely in Art Deco style. During the redevelopment of the square, the back of the building was given a facelift and a new front was made of it. This was not possible before because that was also the spot where the artist studio stood. And this is what you can see on these photos. So, this was the old front of the building, and now this is. Photos of the works of the quay walls in the marina. Here you see the Rode Torenkai, where a large plateau was going to be constructed, and the same location after the finalization of the works. This is how the marina looks like today, a gathering place for old and new vessels. And the lawns at the marina are meant for the local population and also for the students, young people who go to school in the area. There are some schools over there. And the good weather creates an ambience and a good feeling in someone else's company. Next phase of the project, the construction of the new lock. It's called the Scheldt lock because Scheldt is the Latin name of the river Scheldt. The lock was planned right next to the large building. This building. And the lock came here. First, we need a closer look on the project area and at the problems that had to be tackled for the reopening. First, there is the difference in water level between the rivers Scheldt and Lis. It's about 1.20 meters or 3 feet. That's not huge, but it had to be tackled. The former lock building is depicted here on a drawing from the 18th century. And was located on this spot, the red circle, to block water entering the city. Same building on a photo of the years 1930. It was demolished with the closing of the waterway. On this photo, we see how a part of the lower Scheldt is covered at the Laurent Square. They put a tunnel there and let the water flow again afterwards. And it dates from 1884. another picture of these works. And this is how it looks like today. And also today, a sad look at the square on top of the tunnel where many cars are still parked. Fortunately, there are a few urban planners who advocate redesign of the square. After the municipal elections this year in October, the 14th of October, their proposal on the conference table comes to a decision. So we look forward to that. Another side of the square where a wall was built to obstruct the view of the waterway beyond it. Imagine how loved the water was in the inner city at that time. Fortunately, they have already made short work of it and now even placed benches to look at the water and passing boats. We now return to the place where the lock would be built, and almost at the same time, two new bridges were built. Here we see the Nieuwbrug, translated in English as the new bridge, and another bridge at the Wedenaard area in front of the Bisdom or Diocese Square. Same place. On the simulation drawing on the left, you can see how the situation should be after the works, and on the right, how the situation was before the works started. You have seen this photo on the right before. The start of the lock construction began 6 years ago and was finished 2 years later. I'll show you a few images made with a computer about how the lock was conceived. In the middle, in front of the boat, you see the main part of the lock itself. On the left, you see a special passage for canoes and kayaks. Same image from another side. Boat is in the lock, and back to real life with images of the situation on the spot. The lock building under construction with 3 public toilets is housed, and that's what it looks like when finishing the lock and the building. That was taken 2 years ago. And the square next to the lock complex was completely redeveloped. You can see the old situation here on the image from the air, and the new square after the redevelopment. In good weather, the terraces are well populated, and every Sunday there is a market in the morning for poultry and small pets. And so we come to the last part of the works, the remaining part between the 2 new bridges that is being opened. You see where that zone is located. And this view is of the part the part to be opened between the new bridge on the Diocese until the next bridge right before the lock. And this strip viewed from the air a little later when the works started. The ongoing works, it all looks simple, but it's not. Over the years, numerous pipes, cables, and utilities have been laid out in the subsurface without real plans being saved. There is a communication building next to it from the telephone company, and there were more than 2 million connections made under the subsurface without having a plan, so they had to put every cable again, and yeah, because they didn't know if we cut one cable, who wouldn't be able to phone again. This makes the opening a delicate and meticulous work, which obviously takes a lot of time and effort. In any case, the work continues constantly and is almost finished. Yeah. And this is how it should look when the works are completed and after the water flows again. Why did we do this project and made the investments to let the water run into the city center again? Well, because we think the water in the inner city is important to upgrade water tourism, to be able to develop events and along the waterfront, and thus to further develop tourism in our city, and also to revitalize the economy, such as the retail and the catering industry. The development and construction of Portjes Gander Marina has already become a success story, not only for tourists but also for the locals. For example, there is a large firework twice a year where people get around the marina and organize people's parties. Every year there is also an event where each time a different type of historic craft is invited to decorate the marina with flying colors and with the crew dressed in historical costumes. Between the layer on the left and the Scheldt on the right, a chain of squares has been developed to have, they are already completed, and to give the feeling of a long walk from the one to the other river. In the squares itself, there is plenty of experiences, like cafes, shopping, events, and many works of art have been integrated. The street scene itself was also drastically changed by the lowering of all quay walls to seat height above the water surface. Here you can see an example of this in the historic tourist center on the Graslei and Koorlei, where young people flock to the River Lisk. And here we want to go finally to a historic city center where you can fully sail around with a boat and get in and out where you want. We already have 6 jetties available to do this, and even with a city tour boat, you can already buy a day ticket to sail a day over the water from one district to another. And with the finalization of the Scheldt project, we want to increase the offer considerably. Quickly, some other small projects linked to the reopening. Immediately next to the marina on the Red Cross, there is located Sint-Bavo Abbey. The old abbey is kept as it was before, but linked to the project, the complete greenery around the abbey was redesigned. Now it has become an oasis of peace for the residents, better for the area of the area. The square in front of the diocese has also been redesigned. Cars are not allowed anymore. You see the bridge, in fact. Also, next to the cathedral, the Mosaic Square will be redesigned. This is still to be done, but it's not immediately next to the water. And in our marina, blue moonlight is placed under the arches of the quay wall. Total cost of the project about 80 million euros. And to conclude, well, our Flemish Waterway Authority has promised to have the official opening to celebrate the end of the works on the 3rd of November upcoming. I would say come over and see it for yourself. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Rudy. It's great to see such transformation to an old waterway. Like photographs that we would have, some of the old work construction photographs, they didn't take much attention to health and safety. Some of the lads there, unprotected, standing on planks. We'll move on fastly, trying to catch up here, and Rob Vrojliks is going to be our next speaker. Rob is a specialist consultant in water sport development sector. With 25 years of experience and over 100 projects and consultancy issues in the Netherlands and abroad, Rob brings a wide range of examples and experience of water and waterways for recreational boating. Rob is the author of a book called City Port. There's key issues in urban development of harbours in the book, and he also has developed a system called Marina Menu, a set of 50 different types of marinas that can be used to define the type of facility that delivers most to its surroundings. Rob's worked in all regions of the Netherlands and is Programme Manager in the province of Limburg for the Water Sport Action Plan since 2013. And Rob's paper there is Investing in Water Recreation in Limburg. Rob, you're very welcome.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about the province of Limburg, and this is the south of Limburg. It's the south of Holland. It's the highest part of Holland, and it's about 14 meters above sea level. So that's the highest point of Holland with rivers. And the story begins with a map. This is a map of 1900, and in this map you see only a river floating through the region. And this fabric, pebbles or gravel, changed the landscape dramatically in Limburg. Because if you see the picture of 1950, you see only, again, the river, the city a little bit bigger, but you see only the city. And afterwards, you see this. This is 1970. And afterwards, you see this. This is 2000. And if you zoom out, then you see the total region, which was only land, is now very much water, because only the gaining of pebbles or gravel. So this is what a huge recreation lake area looks like today. And the province of Limburg is trying to develop this area as a even better touristical area. So what we did, we made an analysis of the market. And if I talk in Holland about water sports in Limburg, they say, do they have water in Limburg? Because it didn't used to be there. But if you look at the map from, let's say, the European part, then you see that Germany, and mainly the Ruhrgebiet, which 10 million inhabitants, is very nearby. So 63% of the guests of the boat owners in Limburg already are from Germany. In total, in this region nowadays, there is 9,500 birds, of which a lot of German people, and a good occupation. If you look at the, let's say, economic impact, then you see that it is about, we estimated, about 100 million spending in water tourism in Holland for boat owners and for using their boats. And that is equals to about 1,000 jobs. So it's quite important for the region. So what we were looking at were the trends. And the left above, is the most important trend in water sports in Holland. It is a really big problem that everybody is getting grayer and grayer, and that boat owners are getting older and older. And there's not enough people, young people, who want to own a boat. So this development means that we have to do something. What you see is that young people, they like transports. They like wakeboarding, they like supping, they like other things, but they don't like owning a boat. They use boats, they rent boats, they want to step in a small boat, but they don't want to use or they don't want to own yachts. And some people who do own yachts, they use their yacht not for sailing, but they use their yachts more and more as a caravan. So the market is changing. People are less days on their boat, less days a year. And that means that in Holland we estimate that there are about 25,000 abandoned boats that are in marinas, that are paid for or not paid for, we don't know. It's different. So we have to do something to gain new markets. And if we look at other niche markets, then you see the increase of river cruises is growing also on the River Maas, and that fishing is kind of hot. Fishing on boats, fishing with very modern gear, this is growing as well. So in this analysis, we made, let's say, some target markets. And it's a very special Dutch boat, a sloop. We have them a lot, and that's the part that is growing. Small, open motorboats. Easy to sail, easy to take, easy to rent. The German market is, of course, for us a very important market, but it's also about the home market, because people from Limburg, they don't are used to the water yet, because it's not in their DNA. We try to develop transport, try to deliver for the niche markets, and try to make facilities for river cruises. But when we were looking at the marinas with those 9,500 birds, there was the message that everything looked the same. And not all the people that are in water sports are the same. But the marinas all look the same. And that's why we developed a marina menu with 52 different types of marinas. And I give you a quick overview of those marinas. And now it goes, I think. And I won't show them all, but the thing was with marina menu that you have to look at marinas from the perspective of what does it do in its spatial in its spatial area, what does it need from the water, what does it bring for a city, what does it bring for economics, and what does it bring for people that have, let's say, a motivation to go to the boat. So we designed all those, or analyzed all those types of marinas, and with this instrument, we made it possible to encourage boatyard owners, marina owners in the region to say, do something different. If you go for the small boats, if you be the sailing harbor, if you will be the rental harbor, if you will be, please do specialize. And with the program, with subsidy that we have from the province of Limburg, we were able to stimulate it a little bit. So if you want to look at the marina menu, you can find it online at marinamenu.com. And then we said we have to make an action plan. And my title was a master plan. But we didn't make a master plan with a big map and saying there should be that, and there should be that, and there should be that. But what we did was we made some program lines. And we said, well, we use the quality of the region, we stimulate economy, it's a tourist economic program, we integrate tourism that is already there, and we take away obstacles. And obstacles in this region are very big because it's a river, and the river can flood. In winter, sometimes there is 4 meters or 5 meters more water. So every investment is quite difficult, let's say. And to keep the Netherlands dry, we should not influence the river too much. So what we did was not make a master plan with, let's say, the map, but we made a master plan with program lines. And we said, okay, what we should do is bring new target groups to the market. What we should do is involve the dry tourism, campsites, bungalow parks, city centers, connect them really to the river and to the lakes. What we should do is integrate staying and boating. There were campsites near the river that had nothing with the river. They did nothing with the river or nothing with the lakes. And we should try to make it, for entrepreneurs, less complicated to develop their area. So, young and different in the local market is delivering new projects with small boat rentals. We subsidized a wakeboard center, some beach clubs, everything that makes it easier to go on the water, but also we look at the young children. And the young children, there's a school program, and in this school program, young kids learn how to sail for a day, and then they can come back afterwards, they get a voucher and they can come back, because we have to influence the young people. But it's mainly, let's make it hip on the water, because it's too gray on the water, in Holland at least. And the other one was, let's connect, let's say, the tourist pearls that we have along the river with the waterway itself, with the lakes. And this is all about really connection. Because if you have a river that sometimes floods, then normally you have the river over there, and you live over there, or the bar is over there, the terrace. So we had to make connections, really connections, that people could be on the water and have fun on the water, but also reach with their boat tourist attractions like castle gardens or beach clubs, etc. So it's all about moorings, places to stay. The next one was integrate developing staying and boating. And this is about really making holiday parks and hotels water orientated. And maybe you can imagine then that if the DNA of people is not water, because there was no water, yeah, there was a river, but the river was danger. The river is still sometimes danger for those people. And now they have to embrace their own new landscape, let's say. And this is all about that, trying to convince entrepreneurs to use the water more. And we stimulate that also with subsidies. And then if you put out a provincial program, then we say we should have some ambition. And we should bring, let's say, new landmarks to the region, landmarks in the water. So this is just some design from all over the world that we use when we try to stimulate, do it differently and do it in another way. We had to set some priorities. We made in the province of Limburg, we made a deal with, let's say, about 6.5 million euros for subsidies, and we said, okay, we should encourage private investors to put money in this sector. So if they do have a project, they have to do the project now. And they have to be able to do the project now, fast moving, because otherwise they will say, well, I do have a project and I will start it in 2020. No. If you want subsidy, you have to start now, you have to deliver now, and it's also politics, I should say, because this regional minister wants to deliver before he has to be re-elected. It's all the same everywhere, I think. It must be about economy and jobs, private investment, economy and jobs, and it must load the label Limburg. The region should be, let's say, the water should be in the label. And if you have a master plan approach with a map, then you have the danger that you say, well, this should be first, and then you should do that, and then you do that. And we said, well, this is such a complicated region with regulations and everything, we should do what can be done. And maybe we should prepare what has to be done. So it's a different approach, and that's the small steps that we take for the big master plan. The initiative for projects is not at the provincial government. The initiative is always at the sector, private investors, and local government. Finance and knowledge comes from the province. What they do is they have 6 million as, let's say, stimulating money, and what we try to do is people, investors, to convince, okay, we can do 20%, sometimes 10%, sometimes 25% of your investment if you do it now and if you do it this way. It's it's very simple in the end, but you have to keep in mind that it has to be a big approach because you have the bigger master plan in themes. There is a very practical approach in the region, which is, I think, very important. So it's not the province has lists where you have to fill in with forms, etc., etc., etc. But there is program management, that's me, and I go to the entrepreneurs and look with them, what are you doing? Is this important? Can you change it? Can you make it even better? And what can we do to help you to do so? And that makes that this provincial or regional program is not only from the province, but it feels like it's from all of us. So also local authorities, also entrepreneurs, they think that Action Plan Water Tourism is an action plan for everybody and from everybody, which is, I think, very important in... Shortly about the results. there was a public and private investment of 30 million so far. And the 30 million is, I think it's 20 million private investment, and the biggest developments are a nautical boulevard with all kinds of nautical services, let's say, a wakeboard center, some campsites on the way, and redevelopment of marinas, renewal of marinas, but also changing of marinas. It is small and large projects. The biggest one has an investment of 1.6 million euros, and the smallest one has an investment of a sort of small water sports club that does 10,000. And they all think that it is important that it goes this way. What we do is really target group marketing. What we see now is that we should emphasize make it able for local people to get on the water. So we are very much in local marketing. We are very much in German marketing. We believe in the region, and we think that the Limburgers should also start to believe in their region and in their water sports possibilities, because they don't know it yet. And that means that water sport is more integrated in the public mind. That's what we are doing, what we are trying to do, and it becomes the DNA of the region. I'm ahead of schedule. Thank you. Good. Okay.
Thank you very much, Rob. Very much looking at the bigger picture, and I like that statement, the DNA of the region. So you're trying to transform the younger generation as well. Our final speaker today is Mr. Wah. Mr. Wah is Director of the Yangtze Cultural Relics Bureau, also Director of Yangtze World Heritage Protection Management Office, and has also served as Deputy Magistrate of the Beiyang County of Yangtze City and Director of Yangtze Municipal Sports Bureau. As a cultural heritage enthusiast since 2016, Mr. Wah, with his colleagues, fully devote to the protection of the Grand Canal heritage. He has participated in National Grand Canal Heritage Protection for the past 2 years and has compiled overall planning for the protection and utilisation of that canal heritage. He's also published a book named The Long Distance, Painting Yangtze and the Grand Canal, and has organised volunteer activities to protect the Grand Canal. Under his leadership, he is also involved in the cultural heritage protection and is now flourishing, and the Grand Canal heritage protection has won international praise. Mr. Wah's paper would be The Protection and Inheritance and Utilisation of Grand Canal Heritage. You're very welcome. There will be simultaneous translation as well. Yep. Yeah, okay.
各位嘉宾，大家上午好。我很荣幸有机会参加本次会议，并和大家分享世界遗产城市扬州在大运河遗产保护、传承、利用方面的一些做法和想法。
Distinguished delegates, good morning. It's a great honor for me to speak at the conference session to share Yangzhou's experience and practices in the protection, inheritance, and utilizations of the China Grand Canal.
我看了一下时间，我想可能用尽量短的时间来完成我的这个发言。一是因为在前天上午这个大会上面，WCCO 主席朱明阳先生已经对扬州有所介绍，而是想尽量的节省时间，以便大家更好的享受茶歇。
Actually, I would like to finish my speech as soon as possible because the chairman of WCCO, Mr. Zhu, has introduced Yangzhou yesterday, and I would like to save time for everyone to enjoy coffee break. Thank you.
2014年6月22日，在多哈召开的世界遗产大会上面，中国大运河项目成功入选了世界遗产这个名录。扬州是大运河申遗的牵头城市，是大运河的发源地， 也是遗产点最多的城市。
On June 2014, the China Grand Canal was successfully inscribed onto the World Heritage List at the World Heritage Convention in Doha. As the leading city in the Grand Canal's campaign for the designation and home to the earliest section of the canal, Yangzhou has the largest number of the canal's World Heritage.
在这里，我想和大家分享4个方面的内容。
Herewith, I would like to share 4 aspects of contents.
第一个方面是关于管理体系的。
First, let me introduce briefly the management system.
扬州在遗产保护的过程当中，首先确立了城市建设服从古城保护、古城保护服从遗产保护的原则，并且始终把这一原则贯穿到日常的保护管理工作当中去。
In the first place, in protecting the ancient city, Yangzhou has established and sticks to the principle of city development shall give way to the protection of the ancient city, and the protection of the ancient city shall prioritize the protection of the cultural heritages.
扬州也建立了由市政府总牵头、文物、建设、规划、交通、水利等部门分工协作的管理模式，通过定期或者不定期的组织召开各部门的协调会等形式，来协商解决大运河保护管理工作中遇到的重点难点问题。
Secondly, a management model is formed which is overseen by the municipal government and involves the participation of multiple government authorities administering cultural relics, construction, planning, transport, and so on. Coordination meetings are held on a regular or irregular basis to address jointly the key and difficult issues in the canal's protection.
此外，我们也及时颁布实施遗产保护的办法。2012年、2015年，扬州在大运河沿线城市率先完成了运河遗产保护立法。2017年又重新修订颁布了大运河扬州段世界文化遗产保护办法。
Thirdly comes the legislation for heritage protection. In 2012 and 2015, Yangzhou took the lead in legislating for the protection of canal heritages. In 2017, the updated regulations on protecting the Yangzhou section China Grand Canal World Heritage Site was promulgated.
第二个方面，向大家介绍一下保护管理的情况。
The next part of my presentation deals with the protection and utilization of the canal heritages.
一是扬州一直坚持按照世界遗产保护的要求，按照国家、省市相关保护管理的制度规范要求，实施运河本体保护和周边环境整治项目。近4年，已累计投入了4.2亿的人民币，对16个遗产点段和一批运河古镇、水道、古闸、古坝、古码头、古民居进行了修缮保护。
Firstly, Yangzhou has implemented the protection projects of the Canal Waterway and its environs in accordance with World Heritage Protection Standards. During the past 4 years, the government has invested a total of 420 million RMB to renovate and protect the 16 World Heritage Sites, as well as a number of cultural remains such as historic canal towns, ship locks, dams, ports, and residences.
这是我们近几年环境整治工程的一些前后的对比。
This is the changes made by the protection projects.
二是扬州建立了大运河遗产监测预警中心，对大运河各类遗产实施日常管理监测，运用实时视频的监控和定期数据填报相结合的监测手段，对大运河遗产进行了分类的管理。
Secondly, a monitoring early warning center for the Grand Canal heritages was founded, and daily management monitoring is now in place for the virus heritages, making use of real-time video monitoring and routine data reporting.
三是运用了卫星遥感等科技手段，对近年来不同时期地表覆盖信息的分布及变化情况进行了数据的记录、对比、分析，并形成了监测报告，为运河遗产要素的保护管理来提供依据。
Thirdly, satellite, remote sensing and monitoring technologies are employed to record, compare, and analyze the landscape changes. The monitoring report serves as a basis for the protection and management of the canal heritages.
四是建设了运河展示利用的精品工程。目前，扬州正在筹备中国大运河博物馆的建设工作。
Fourthly, Yangzhou endeavors to create a model on the exhibition and utilization of canal culture. It is now planning the construction of the China Grand Canal Museum.
这个左图就是我们正在规划建设的中国大运河博物馆。
The left picture is the museum we plan to build.
第三个方面，向大家介绍一下文化交流的情况。
Let's move on the aspects of the promotion of canal culture.
一是通过纸媒、电视、网络及其他新媒体，来全方位、多角度展示运河历史文化，从国家到省再到世界媒体，对以运河为主题的文章、宣传片等都高度重视。近年来涌现出了许多优秀的作品。右图就是中国中央电视台4套国宝档案节目正在讲述中国大运河扬州段的故事。
First, we try to exhibit and promote the canal's history and culture in an all-round manner through diverse media platforms, including paper media, TV, internet, and other new media forms, and from multiple perspectives. In China, state-run media of various levels have attached great importance to the reports and documentaries themed on the Grand Canal and have produced a number of fine works in recent years. On the right is a picture of a documentary series entitled National Treasure Archives, broadcast on CCTV Channel 4, relating the stories of the Yangzhou section of the canal.
二是举办世界运河名城博览会、运河主题微电影节等活动。从2007年起，在中国外交部、建设部、国家文物局、旅游局等部门倡导和支持下，扬州市连续数年举办了世界名城博览会。每年的9月或者10月份，都邀请世界运河城市的专家、官员、学者来参加，围绕着遗产保护、旅游生态、城市发展的主题进行交流和对话。
Second, we hold such events as World Canal Cities Expos, canal-themed micro-movie contests, and so on. Since 2007, Yangzhou has organized the World Canal Cities Expos annually with the support of the Foreign Ministry, the Ministry of Housing and Urban-Rural Construction, the State Administration of Cultural Relics, and the State Administration of Tourism. Experts, officials, and scholars from canal cities worldwide are invited to participate and join the dialogues on such topics as heritage protection, tourism, and acknowledge canal cities development.
三是扬州的学校、博物馆、志愿者团队以及其他的社会机构都发挥各自的优势，广泛参与运河文化活动当中来。2013年。 扬州市成立了大运河志愿者总队，到目前已经发展到了16个运河支队、32个社区守护站。他们在大运河文化传播、运河遗产日常保护等方面付出了很多的努力。
Third, we also try to promote wide social participation by schools, museums, volunteer groups, and other institutions In 2013, Yangzhou founded the Grand Canal Volunteer Service Team, which now has 16 branches and 32 community-level monitoring stations. They have made great and fruitful efforts in the canal's cultural promotion and the daily protection of the heritages.
第4个方面，向大家介绍一下扬州城市发展的情况，或者是一些想法。
Finally, let me also say something about the role of the canal in the development of the Yangzhou city.
作为一个与运河同生共长的城市，扬州的发展必然离不开运河。未来的几年，我们将努力发挥运河遗产在经济社会文化发展以及民生水平提高当中不可替代的作用，结合城市规划遗产保护的实际，开展下一步的工作。
As a city that is closely associated with the canal from the very beginning, Yangzhou's development cannot do without the canal. In the next couple of years, Yangzhou will give full play to the irreplaceable role of the canal heritages in the city's economic, social, and cultural development, as well as the enhancement of people's well-being.
一是在城市发展过程当中，扬州一直致力于研究探索运河遗产保护、传承利用的新模式。2018年，编制了《遗产重塑城市扬州运河文化遗产保护利用总体策划》，对遗产的保护利用提出了全新的设想和规划。
First, in the city's development, Yangzhou has dedicated itself to the exploration of new models in the protection, inheritance, and the utilization of canal heritages. In 2018, it formulated the Masterplan on protecting and utilizing canal cultural heritage in Yangzhou, which puts forth a new set of conception and plan on the protection and utilization efforts.
二是规划建设生态廊道、文化中心、休闲公园。扬州依托大运河遗产，在保护遗产真实性、完整性的基础上，提升和优化原有水体生态环境，推动建设绿色生态的运河廊道。
Second, planning and building ecological corridors, cultural centers, leisure parks, and so on the basis of retaining the authenticity and completeness of the canal heritages. Yangzhou has enhanced and improved the water quality and the ecological environment and pressed ahead with the construction of a green ecological canal corridor.
三是推动运河遗产的综合利用，来打造文化旅游的目的地。
Third, the city of Yangzhou is promoting the comprehensive utilization of canal heritages in an effort to build the city into a population destination, cultural tourism.
通过扬州的实践，我们认为，做好保护工作是文化遗产的最基础的工作。科学的利用可以更好地挖掘和实现遗产的现实价值，而最终的目的，这是优秀传统文化和现代文明的传承与弘扬。
Through the practice case of Yangzhou, we think that the most basic work of cultural heritage is to protect it well. Scientific utilization can better realize and excavate the realistic value of heritage. And the ultimate aim is to inherit and carry forward the spirit of excellent traditional culture and modern civilization.
众所周知，中国有2项伟大的古代工程名闻遐迩，一个是万里长城，另一个便是绵延数千公里的中国大运河。在这里，我们诚挚地欢迎各位来中国，到北京看长城，到扬州看大运河。
Dear delegates, China is known for 2 world-famous ancient grand engineering projects, the Great Wall and the Grand Canal. While Beijing is good for a visit to the Great Wall, Yangzhou is an ideal destination for you to see the Grand Canal.
谢谢大家。
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hua, for sharing your experience with us. Thank you for sharing your experience with us this morning. There was a couple of slides which were very interesting as well from the point of view of the cargo that's moved along your waterway, a long snake of transport vehicles. It's crazy to see. Okay, thank you very much to all four speakers. Could I invite the four of you up onto the stage for about 10 minutes of questions and answers? So you're very welcome up. So we're opening to the floor for anyone who would like to have a question answered to any one of our four speakers. There's a roving mic there, so just put up your hand whenever you want to speak, and we will move it around. Sorry, go ahead.
Question for Joe. Joe, I'm a boater with a narrowboat on the Gloucester-Sharpness Canal, and I travel the whole system of England. Some of those places are now not usable due to, and Rob referred to it, I think, by the camping aspect of some boaters. Have you experienced people who come to your waterway and stay and set up home and possibly are not licensed? If you have, how do you deal with that?
Just maybe switch.
Hello. Thanks for that question. Speaking personally on the Shannon Erne Waterway and for the region that I'm responsible for, the management of, you're talking about people that might overstay their welcome in public moorings. We have a very efficient inspectorate of navigation in Waterways Ireland, and on the Erne system, where I'm responsible for the operation of that waterway, we have the Erne warden as well. And with the support of bylaws, we enforce those bylaws. And we have got to the position where through friendly dialogue, let's say, we begin with that, and persuasion, we encourage people to move on. The bylaws on the Erne are being tightened up to encourage people to stay for a shorter period and move away longer distance, because it was found that they tended to stay around the town because of the services and the shops and that sort of thing. Elsewhere on the lower ban, we don't have that problem. I know in John's region, there is a move towards more residential boating. I don't know, John, if you want to pick up on that for the East region?
No.
Okay. Sorry, have I answered that question?
Questions. Next question, please. Cut it away. Okay.
Thank you. Another question from the English Canal contingent. A question for Joe and Rob, really. Rob mentioned at great length entrepreneurs and businesses that opening marinas and things. And Joe, you've obviously mentioned businesses and marinas that have opened on the canal. What's the broad relationship agreements between those entrepreneurs, those businesses on the side that are running marinas or might be a hire boat or whatever, a hire company? What's the broad relationship between those and the Water Authority, so i.e. the Waterways Ireland? Or in Limburg, what's with the Limburg Authority?
Does this work? Does it work?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. In Limburg, you have to have the permission to build like a marina, and normally you have to own the land. And in Limburg, mostly you have to also to own the water. So the connection is there that the water is owned by private landowners, but sometimes also, let's say, natural organizations that. And then you can get a lease or something like that. But it's very difficult nowadays to get a permit to build something near or in the river, because the river flooded in 1993 and 1995. And afterwards, loads of legislation, sometimes impossible legislation, led to a standstill. And now we are working with what we call Rijkswaterstaat, so the Waterways Island, for Holland, to develop new ways that it is possible to renew marinas, make new investments in the water with legislation that is possible, let's say. So it's getting there, step by step.
Question over here, please.
Ditto for
Oh, sorry, Joe.
Waterways Ireland. It's essentially the same story with Waterways Ireland. You talk to our property and legal people. Sorry, is this live? You talk to the property and legal people if you have a proposal for a development along our waterways, and we will negotiate and we'll consider the proposal, and at the end of the day, we'll come up with the best proposal for both the developer and for Waterways Ireland.
The Grand Canal is seen very much as an inheritance for the young Chinese. How do the young Chinese view their inheritance, and are they committed to its development?
州是这个运河的这个遗产城市嘛，就扬州是如何从这个遗产的这个角度重新这个发挥这个遗产的这个作用，重新发挥大运河遗产的这个功能和作用。
好，首先谢谢您提的这个问题。
The first, thank you for your question.
大运河遗产在扬州段呢是有它专门扬州特点的一个遗产段，它是活态利用的，也就是说，这个大运河在扬州它是运输、水利和文化的功能都存在的。
Yangzhou has a special function in the China Grand Canal heritage. It has a function of transport and culture and culture. Sorry, my translation. Actually, in China, we always call the China Grand Canal is a live heritage.
就是我们扬州的运河以前可能更加注重，你反正意思就这样啊，就更加注重我们的一些航运功能、水利功能，而现在作为一个世界遗产，我们在保持它现有的航运、交通、水利功能的基础上面，我们更加注重就是扬州运河历史文化遗产点的保护，包括生态环境的修复，让人们更多的、更好的来保护好我们的运河，传承好我们的运河文化。
Actually, before we attach more importance to the transportation of canal, and now we attach importance attention to the cultural and
这个生态对，因为生态呀、环境呢都可以。
environment function of the canal. We would like to enlarge the impact of the cultural of the culture. Yeah.
Thank you. Could I just finish and ask Rudy just a question? You wouldn't want to be left out, Rudy. Just like you told about I think it's the Scheldt lock, which was constructed or started 6 years ago. I think it was finished maybe 2 years ago, if I picked up my facts right. There were some sort of diagrammatic ones there, but are the gates miter gates or guillotine gates, or what sort of gates are used for the lock?
The lock will function automatically. It's not decided yet. At the end of this month, there will start 1 month of tests how the best way to use the lock, but it will open automatically when a ship arrives, or it will be with a system that sees the vessel approaching, and the lock will function automatically, or there will be a mobile number where a shipper has to phone to set up the system working. And it's just locks that open the regular system, in fact.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what will happen.
Sorry, just if the speakers would just stay there 1 second, I just have to make one announcement. So I'm just going to close the questions and answers, if you don't mind. Just in case any of the delegates are here, due to late changing of flights, Galen Fulford will now speak in Marina 3 during the breakout session 4 instead of 5, and Matt Kennedy will move to session 5 in track 1 in Marina 2. Just in our appreciation for the 4 speakers, we're going to have a round of applause in a minute, but I'd just like to present them each with a burgee. Thank you very much. We're going to get photographs here as well. Is this you? Yeah. A group photograph or individual? Group. Okay, group. Well done. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, just watch yourself, don't stand backwards.
I saw that.
Okay, in your usual way, would you put your hands together for all 4 speakers? Thank you. There's a break now for tea and coffee for about half an hour, so the session will be back in here again.
Yeah, but you know, I haven't got his bio, so he's Irish.
Yeah, some minutes. Are you heading off? Are you heading off tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning, very.
Apologies to Rob as well. His surname was incorrectly spelled. So I apologise.
Was it?
But it's impossible. IJ with us is a Y. So if you with us IJ together is Y.
Vrojliks.
And it was switched.
So it's pronounced as Vrojliks. Vrojliks. So it's in that K. Vrojliks.
Normally we call it A.
Great presentation. Really loved it. Yeah.
Oh, you? Yeah. You said I have nothing to add, but you had. Whoa!
As in the open board full time, 365 days in the year. So they're all houseboats.
Stay there. So there's all their stuff fuel as soon as they come. So the bicycle and so all the tractors. Do you prosecute?
We have actually officially. At the moment, in my area, in my region, I wasn't just going to get into the whole.
No, I could see it here. It's just right here now.
We have done legislation through the Heritage Act. We are actually accomplishing side by side in changes to our bylaws so that we actually can charge, but we can also enforce houseboats. They don't exist at the moment, other than we actually have under our current somebody actually can stay at a location outside the bylaws of 5 days, okay, with our permission, okay? But we do not have legislation, we do not have the legislation now, we don't have the bylaws, but we will be working to actually enforce houseboats on people in Liverpool. And
So you're not prosecuting at the moment?
not prosecuting.
You can try. Perfect.
But we're interested because it's stopping the visitor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Visiting brings money.
I know,
And
yeah.
it prevents it.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Bye.
How are you, John? Did we chair now?
That's turn. You take a bit of a breathe on it. Are you showing next session?
Yes. Read through this.
I did once. They sit down here, and they all opted to sit down here because they can actually see the screen. The big screen. It's very. This doesn't show you a full picture here. It's so small.
Okay.
So they all opted to sit down here, and then